Hey, White Sox fans, it's your very favorite Chicago White Sox fan out there, Brett Ballantini. Hi, I'm hosting Southside Sox Mothership Podcast. It's number 76. It's been, I don't know, week, 10 days, 2 weeks. Hey, sorry, went away. Like the White Sox did anything. Okay. Hey, welcome to the podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about what the White Sox are doing or not doing. Oh, and actually, we got a big list of stuff. If this was one of those yelly, screamy shows, or if SB Nation paid us more, you'd be seeing something like down the side of the screen, like talking about all the topics. So you can start anticipating and start sweating a little bit about what's coming up next and what is Brett or Adrian or Joe or Chrystal or Zach going to yell about next. We might do that anyway, just no list. Okay, we got Adrian Serrano, designer. If you're watching, you're checking out some tasty threads. If you're not, hey, just another bit of dead air. We do that. Oh my God, can you believe it? From the Indianapolis field office, holidays don't matter, dead free agents don't matter. Leury's back, so they both decided to show up. It is sitting cubicles right beside each other. It is Chrystal O'Keefe and Super Joseph Reeses. Welcome, Indianapolis. Thank you for representing the ET. And Zach Hayes, who, by the way, just put it up, actually, working overtime, podcasting right after writing articles. Joseph Reeses throws up the Leury Garcia piece, not shock piece, but he signed. And then Zach Hayes with the analysis saying, hey, White Sox, guess what? Did you actually play defense? Did you actually play 2020's baseball? Kendall Graveman might be a good sign. Otherwise, Scott Linebrink. Okay, anyhow, welcome everybody. Hey, let's talk about these signings. The White Sox have made a big splash by bringing back Leury Garcia to be super utility man / probable starter, and Kendall Graveman apparently Ryan Tepera for the next 3 years. Go.
Yeah, the Graveman thing definitely feels like, all right, well, then I can't see them paying Ryan Tepera for the money that they gave Graveman. Leury, I think I put it best earlier when I told somebody, like, Leury is the guy that helps you get to the playoffs healthy, but he should never be the answer at any position in the playoffs. So as long as that's how he's going to be used, it's a great signing. If he is the starting second baseman that we had at home, then it's another conversation.
We have a merch dilemma. All right, that's a sidebar discussion for after the podcast. Who else is excited or not? Or
yeah, I know I don't believe we've gotten a confirmation on the dollar figure for Garcia's deal yet. I imagine it's not going to be too costly, and it's hard to imagine it being something that the White Sox will look back on and regret down the road. I would agree with the feeling that he should not be the plan A at second base or really any position heading into the season. But is it great to have him on the team? Absolutely. And especially for 3 years team control at, I imagine, a pretty affordable price, especially compared to what free agents are going for so far this offseason. I imagine this won't close off any doors for them financially. You never know for sure, I guess, but it's hard to imagine this one being a burden to the point where Reinsdorf is going to say, ooh, well, thanks to this Garcia deal, we can't really afford this player who otherwise we could have and would be very useful. So I have a positive reaction to the Garcia deal.
Joe, we've probably done 50 Meet the Players surveys. I think most of them are published at Southside Sox, still probably more to come. And funny, no one listed Leury Garcia as the next White Sox statue or the next retired number. Gotcha. Reinsdorf has got something in store for you. Hey, Chrystal, Zach, what do you think about this?
I was not even remotely surprised. I love the guy. I don't have any actual issue with him. Like others have stated, he's fine when you're trying to get there, when you're trying to get to playoffs and you just need a healthy body on the team. And you know what? Good for him for getting his money. He's going to have like a nice pension now because he'll have reached his 10 years with the team. So good for him for getting his money. Otherwise, I just am numb to everything that has happened so far.
We'll get to that, Chrystal. Zach, you just broke down Graveman, and as usual, terrific manner. Really explains why really, if the White Sox do the right thing, we should be super excited about Graveman. And if they do what we know they're going to do, maybe not.
Yeah, man, Graveman's a good pitcher. We saw it up close. He shut down the White Sox. He shut down a lot of teams in the playoffs. He's a good pitcher, but we also saw how the White Sox just did Aaron Bummer in terms of positioning and stuff like that. And Graveman is he's a pretty similar type of pitcher. He's not as extreme as Bummer, but he gets a lot of ground balls. He throws a hard, heavy sinker and a slider that wasn't very good until recently, but is now very good. So like the parts are all there. So even if everything doesn't go right, he's still probably a pretty good pitcher. He had a 1.77 ERA this past year, so people are probably going to look at that and hold him to a pretty high standard. So unless the White Sox start shifting more, this is kind of the crux of what you're going to read, you probably can't expect that again, because the Mariners and the Astros shifted their infield almost 50% of the time with Graveman. He puts the ball on the ground 55% of the time. That's part of the reason why Graveman overperformed his expected numbers and Aaron Bummer underperformed them by about the same amount. So yeah, good signing, good value. But as usual, the White Sox need to get out of their own way and, let him ride.
Speaking of what Kendall Graveman did to us in the playoffs, Rick Hahn today, not that I know, because as some of you are aware, internally, apparently I've been dropped off of the White Sox press release list again. So I'll call him and beg again. Anyway, that's beside the point. It's for a different podcast in the future. Wait for that one, White Sox. Rick Hahn was calling him, consummate team guy. Clearly, based on the hullabaloo created when Seattle traded Graveman to Houston, which the Mariners players, the clubhouse took to mean Mariners front office has given up on the season, but also I think speaks to probably what the guy means to the clubhouse. So I would shade Rick Hahn here, but Tony La Russa in the playoff series wasn't real pleased with Kendall Graveman, because apparently he was trying to get thrown out of the game, right? And at the end of the game, that pitiful game 4. You expect any type of chemistry issue with Tony La Russa from Graveman, given the fact that apparently he was just the last of 350 pitchers last year to drill Jose Abreu, and this time in the playoffs in a runaway game?
No, I mean, at this point, like, they're all just going to say whatever. It's like the teacher that doesn't really pay that much attention to the class. Like, everybody loves that teacher. You can kind of just do your own thing, and everything's cool. So like, it is what it is. Like, you'll never hear about it again.
That doesn't seem to be a Hall of Fame baseball person, the teacher who no one listens to. Go White Sox, you know what you got to do. Obviously this is sort of a joke question, but I just think it's funny that, that's their first signing, and that might be their splash signing of the off season. God forbid, but it might be.
The thing I took away from Graveman speaking a little bit at his introduction is that he specifically talked to the White Sox, and they specifically told him that Liam Hendriks is going to pitch the 9th. So like, we continue to try to have as little leverage as possible in this Kimbrel deal that is or is not happening. And I'm just at this point, like, pretty sure that Kimbrel's going to be there. I don't know what innings he's going to pitch in, but I feel like he's going to be on the White Sox in 2022.
And let's not forget that I get it. The communication being there is great, because Graveman could come in saying, I'm not being paid like a closer, but I want to be, whatever. But the fact that the White Sox are still, speaking of shifting being, non-shifting being antiquated notion of, well, Liam Hendriks can only pitch in the 9th. No matter that he pitched in the 9th in like 8 garbage games in the playoffs, he's just going to pitch in the 9th. I would still like to see, I think our colleague Luke Smale, who tweeted this out as well, and I'm sure most of us would, I wish Tony La Russa, Ethan Katz would adjust a little bit more for leverage and not just say, hey, it's the 8th inning, wake up, Graveman, wake up. It's your turn. But Hey, Zach, anybody, what's more likely? Sox shift more. I mean, not more because they almost have to. They could fall out of bed and probably shift more. Sox adjust to Major League Modern Baseball with defensive shifting or a leverage relief use for 2022, or is both? Is there no chance of either happening?
Man, they just send us so many mixed messages in terms of whether they actually get it or not. Because sometimes they do kind of say things and operate in ways with, hiring Ethan Katz and what he has clearly been able to do. That's an outside the box kind of thing that makes you think, okay, maybe they're kind of on board with the way things are going. And then they do other things and you're like, do they even know what baseball is? Like there's sometimes it's really hard to say. I don't think, unless you could tell me what specifically is in the hands of Tony La Russa and what specifically is in the hands of others within the organization, I don't think I could tell you what the likelihood of that is. But as long as Tony is at the helm, I think we have our answer. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any realistic chance, whether with defensive shifting or bullpen usage, do we think, based on the experience the White Sox had, which was, I think, pretty rough in both categories last year, is there any chance we see a marked improvement in either of those categories, or do we think they are going to just stay the course and play it, win an ugly 1983 Tony La Russa baseball style?
I don't think Tony has the capacity to change anything at this point. I really think he was pleased that they even won the division. So clearly nothing is broken. So let's just stay the same and let's just win this division over and over again, but never go any further. So I feel like he's just getting paid. He doesn't really care. I like Colleen's approach that he's not even actually like managing. Someone else is just like pulling the strings, like a Weekend at Bernie's type thing.
Listen, O'Keefe, disagree. Tony clearly learned, as far as we know, learned something about driving home. As far as we know, we'll hear those stories one day, but as right now, he learned how to call Uber.
Teaching him about Uber. That's all it is.
Yeah. Hey, jokes on all of you, and I am speaking to everyone listening, reading, and of course my lovely guest. Jokes on you if you thought Marcus Semien was a guy the White Sox needed. Him his 40-something home runs or whatever. Hey, has he ever hit like a 460-foot home run in the playoffs? Leury's back. Second base, baby.
They never said they wanted Marcus. They just wanted someone like him. You really just need to read that over and over again. The
does a lot of work.
He's clearly Marcus Semien 2.0. So we're fine. We've got him.
Yeah.
Humanoid baseball player, second baseman. That's like enough.
Yeah. Marcus, come call in when when you put it out 460 in the playoffs. Okay. Talk to us then. Maybe we'll give you 25 million for 600 years into the future. All right, let's transition a little bit into what is a pretty wild free agent market before we take our break. Prices seem a little inflated. And if not that, the fact that there's this furious stampede to spend, and then come midnight, Wednesday night, midnight tonight, as this is publishing Wednesday, midnight tonight, the owners are going to pivot and say, we ain't got nothing and we can't give you nothing. You're lucky we even provide some ramen for you minor leaguers to eat. And certainly once you make the majors, you got to eat ramen for a while too. Thoughts on a robust free agent market, it seems.
It's tough to see the White Sox getting anyone from the top tier. I mean, a lot of the top tier free agents are already off the board and it's unusual for that to happen this early in the offseason, although it's pretty clear why that's happening this year. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see players being offered these big deals early on in the offseason, and that it's been certainly entertaining seeing the hot stove this week, which has been quite hot, but yeah, it's not looking likely that the White Sox are going to hit a home run with any of at any of the positions where they're in the biggest need right now. I was wrong about the White Sox at the deadline, being with they were more aggressive than I thought they'd be. So I've been surprised before by them, and I could be surprised again, but I am having a tough time seeing it this time around.
I'm happy for my like Mariners and Mets mutuals, like good for them, I guess. Whatever. I just wish that our GM was not sitting at the kids' table, because like clearly their GMs
Right.
were like at the grown-up table, like hanging out, having a great conversation, and Rick is just like, man, where are the chicken fingers? Like,
Yeah. Where's my dipping sauces? Yeah, I like the person who said, or people who said, he just assigned Graveman and he just put his phone, do not disturb.
just chucked it
done.
into the stupid lake. That's what he probably did. It's like, all right, I got my guy. I can just go take a little nap. Whatever. Just grow up, and please, just if they don't like announce Chris Bryant tonight, I'm just gonna scream into my pillow, actually.
Oh gosh, Joe, yeah, you might hear the echoes throughout the greater Indianapolis metropolitan area. I love Detroit talking big, getting Carlos Correa, and not that he's not a trash can cheater, but now they're cue the sad trombone. It's still what, like 20, still like 25 million, what, 24, 25 million. Holy Christ. Wow.
Price is definitely down on Javy Báez, but they're definitely still going to spend. They planned on spending 350 million, and they're going to spend 350 million. I keep hearing people constantly defending Reinsdorf, saying like, "Oh, didn't you guys realize there was no fans for 2020?" And all these other teams seem to have forgotten that there wasn't any fans in 2020. So when they realize that they're actually poor and they don't have this money to give, it's going to be a lot of red faces around the league. But actually, Spot Track has been on pretty good. Like they missed on the AAV for Scherzer because nobody thought that was going to happen. That was Cohen being mad at Steve Matz and like just I'm going to get this guy no matter what. But like honestly, if you average it out, what they were doing as far as value that they thought, like they're within like $40,000 or $50,000. Like so they're not super far off on a lot of these guys. So it's interesting to see where somebody like Rodon or, Stroman's going to end up. They both kind of have different issues, off the field or injury or, perception of them as players. But it's been fun. I like watching players get signed. I like players getting paid. I like teams getting better. I like teams trying to win, like more of that and less of whatever the Pirates are trying to do with their $20 million payroll for the team.
It's also Cohen knowing, sorry, Mets fans, also Cohen knowing that he's got untold millions and billions stashed offshore and dozens of banks. What does he care?
Maybe
Jerry
can ask for a short-term loan because he's not going to be around very much. So Cohen, just help me out a little bit. I just need one championship and then I'll pay back.
Steve Cohen makes me thankful, like very grateful that Jerry is too old for Twitter. Oh my gosh, that's a mess.
Let's not forget either that Scherzer is like the number one player rep in the union too. So he just sought out the owner with the with the Cayman Islands bank accounts and be like, we are setting the market here, which is actually what he did.
He got on Zoom directly with them. Apparently, that was the big story today. Like, oh, Cohen used Zoom. Like, this crazy like business. All right, like, oh, I didn't know you were such a good businessman that you figured out what Zoom was, Steve Cohen.
Or it's his drunk uncle act on Twitter or something. But no, I'm not as pessimistic, I think, about the White Sox free agent outlay because there is going to be a period after assuming this lockout ends, we're not going to fade into oblivion with no baseball ever being played again. There are going to be players who still need to be signed, and I still think what made me think that about Scherzer was that's what happened to Yasmani Grandal. That's how he ended up on the White Sox. He refused the Mets lowball offer because he wanted to set the market for catchers, and that's what he did. And I still think the White Sox probably have, one of those signings left in them. Yankees fans are freaking out right now too. And if there's one thing that our two franchises have in common, because we really don't have a lot in common at all, it's that waiting to see what the luxury tax line and what that structure is going to look like for the future before making any big spending moves is very much in character for both owners, for both Jerry and Hal Steinbrenner. So I think stuff will happen eventually. It's really annoying that they're once again not the team spending $300 million. And that we don't have something really to look forward to going into the lockout. But that's what I'm telling. That's the carrot on the stick I'm dangling to myself to get through the coming months, I guess.
That and deciding to detox from Twitter and different intervals. Obviously, taking a healthy lap is a good thing. Zach Hayes is going to be optimistic about this offseason until Michael Conforto is off the board. Then we're going to get a different Zach, and he's going to be a little bit angrier.
Watching Bryce Harper now like keep continuing to plummet down the list of, AAV as far as like what he makes each year. I think he's at 18 now. It's like, oh, it's looking like such a great deal. And we couldn't even talk to him. Like, we like, nope, not going that high on anybody.
They decked
not
out the
going
United Center, man.
That.
They put like a banner up and
we brought him in. We said hello, gave him a cup of tea, and then, sent him on his way with his
Go
iPad.
to the real teams now, Bryce. All right, let's take a break. We got a little time left to talk about some other stuff going on, maybe a little bit less aggravating. We'll see on Sunday. We're going to take a break. Be back in a minute. Hey, how about that? I just decided to stop. We're back though. It's truncated part 2 of podcast number 76. Delightful bevy of guests here. We've been talking off season, and let's talk about another aspect of the off season now, and that is something that is dear to White Sox heart, should be to all baseball fans, but particularly for White Sox fans, because we have, a veterans ballot coming up, results being announced by the baseball writers on Sunday. And I want to say there's like 5 of the 10 candidates up for election have White Sox ties, some very minor. But we also have it's a slightly different ballot because because Southside Sox readers are smart, we've already elected people like Minnie Miñoso and Dick Allen represent Dick Allen to our Hall of Fame. So big shock. We're a step ahead of the baseball writers and executives and former players. But we have our veterans election going on. It's we got a couple more days to vote. So go ahead and vote if you haven't. A good ballot there. And it parallels by and large to some degree the ballot there's out there with the baseball writers. Adrian, we know you are been very impassioned, as most of us have been, about Minnie Miñoso's candidacy. And of course, there are other, Dick Allen also extremely worthy. Really, that entire ballot, maybe save for a couple guys, really deserve. They should be in the Hall of Fame already. Thoughts about maybe how many people you see getting elected? Most recently, I think they pitched a shutout, or maybe they just got one guy in. And then there was Harold Baines election. It is sort of a mess the way they're doing it. The ballot is stacked. It's really hard to elect really more than one person. How do you see things playing out on Sunday?
I think I saw somebody say that they just kind of looked at the list once they got the list of officially what the makeup was of this, group of people, and it seemed to very much point towards Minnie Miñoso getting the nod. Like, I hate that this process is to the fact that like you can look at the people involved and say like, all right, they're probably going to vote for this. Like, it's like it shouldn't be about this at all. But like, it seemed like he was going to get it and maybe one other person, which is still a bummer. Like, I feel like we should be able to have a discussion and try to get in at least 3 of these guys, if not all 4, just make it happen. Like, what are you there for? Are you there to get people into the Hall of Fame or keep people out of the Hall of Fame? They really need to make a decision on this.
Yeah. Adrian, among the countless dozens who probably sent that out, I did say that. And it does look like that. We have the right combination that seems to favor, although I think a trendier, recently deceased candidate, the sick that we have to think of it this way, is Dick Allen. It seems likely one or the other will be elected. What are our thoughts, Miñoso versus Allen?
I think it's so incredibly dumb that we even have to have this conversation, especially because we are taught. I mean, the Hall of Fame has such a pattern of waiting until people are dead to give them their flowers. They did it to Marvin Miller too. They had to wait for people to die who wanted to keep him out, before they could put him in. And so now, this isn't going to stop happening. We're kind of being confronted with a legacy where non-white players from decades past who were kind of underappreciated and often disrespected during their playing careers kind of leave us, and we're forced to deal with these things and like look at their careers in retrospective and have to, say they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but they got kicked off the ballot their second time with 3% of the vote. So you get all these stacked ballots where it's like, yeah, they should both be in. They should all of the people on these ballots really should be in. It's it's just kind of, the whole conversation is just kind of gross in some ways.
Yeah, Minnie's legit best showing in the actual, free for all normal ballot, whatever you call it, the general ballot. I want to say it was like 2%. It's a preposterous. I mean, most of these guys, I want to say, made it at least to 20%, and then they fell off, whatever. Yeah, Minnie back in more of the dark ages. I think it was maybe the early 70s. Unbelievable. Okay. Minnie, Dick, both. Neither. I'll just go around the Brady circle here. Adrian, what's it going to be?
It should be both, but it's probably just going to be Minnie.
Okay. Chrystal.
Yeah, same. Should be both. Probably just Minnie.
Zach Attack.
Probably just Minnie, unless they develop, a newfound sense of shame. But
all right, Joe.
Yeah, nothing to add. I'd lean toward them just picking Minnie out of those two, but I would absolutely give both of them my vote, and probably even slightly more emphatically for Allen. I mean, he was just such a great hitter, and but yeah, I would strongly be in favor of both of them getting in.
All right, I'm breaking from the pack. I think these people are going to get their act together. They realize they've been embarrassed. In fact, pitching a shutout, giving Minnie one less vote from early 2010s to mid 2010s election. I think Dick Allen and Minnie are going to get in through a concerted effort by the voters, because they'll talk to each other and realize that the ballot's too stacked and they've got to do this. And then I do think, because of the embarrassment, as Zach alluded, of you're dead, let's elect you now, I do think they're going to make a real effort to get one person at least a good amount of votes, if not in. So I think that would be Cott versus Tony Oliva. I'm not really sure who would have the advantage there. I think a living.
I think Ken Boyer's got a good chance too. But yeah, I think they're going to try to get at least one living guy in. They're going to make good on Miñoso, and then hopefully talk to each other and get somebody else in.
I think at the very least, you've got to get one of the living candidates and one person who has passed away and very worthy. I would think at the minimum you get two people in. But I like the chances. It's going to be like a little Sox wave here. I actually think that Dick Allen and Minnie Miñoso are both going to get there. So let's hope that somehow how did this happen that I'm the most optimistic of all of you? There's something very wrong with me, apparently. Oh, no, wait, it's the spirit. It's the spirit of the Serrano ware. Yes. T-Public, Southside Hip Pen. Oh, it's not hard to find. It's people. I'm talking to the camera like anybody's watching. Hi, Mom. Okay. Hey, listen, we also found out today, we don't have our piece up yet on Lamar Hoyt, but Lamar Hoyt, I think it's been confirmed now, did pass away, I believe yesterday. Lamar Hoyt was an absolute hoss. I think he handed the baton to Jack McDowell in terms of being a true workhorse. And then I'm not sure the White Sox have had one in the same way, coming and going, but different type of baseball now. But Lamar Hoyt came out of nowhere, throw in a Bucky Dent, Oscar Gamble trade in 1977, and clawed his way into starting rotation, and then basically never got yanked out of games. He was the guy who was going to pitch Game 5 in 1983. Had the White Sox decided to somehow avoid the curse of Tito Landrum and see a fifth game, and the White Sox would have been in the World Series that year and had a decent chance of winning. Any thoughts? I don't know if any of you were even alive for Winning Ugly, but any thoughts on the passing of Lamar Hoyt, who did have some troubles, but he certainly put in some great service to the White Sox?
I was just struck by how young he was. I mean, he's like a year older than my mom. So it's just, I mean, it's sad no matter how old someone is, but yeah, 66, that's still really young. So that was really sad.
Yeah, he's one of those characters that you just love about baseball that just kind of come out of nowhere, like that like out of a sudden it's just like 82, 83, and then he's gone. It's like, the Mark Fidriches and the Dontrell Willises that are just like you don't know, like the baseball is just so hard to play that like, you can get it all together for a little bit and just can't keep it together for whatever reason. And, but yeah, just one of those guys. It's what makes baseball worth watching every day. You don't know what you're going to see, or, you don't have all the answers.
White Sox went right from Lamar Hoyt to a guy. Here's a deep cut. Bob James, who had a year or two as a closer, bigger even than Lamar Hoyt, also bearded, very husky, unbelievable curveball, for the time he had it. And then the White Sox, I think, maybe, did they spin him? No, maybe that was Barry Jones. They spun one of those guys for Tim Raines. So they made some good moves there in the 80s. And listen, a guy who was actually reading the newspaper, who was an active fan at the time of the trade of Lamar Hoyt. You want to talk about, we've had some rightfully aggressive takes on trades and moves made by the White Sox. Talk about a trade that was nuts. Taking a guy who had an off year after a Cy Young year and trading him for a skinny, what was he, 19? Nothing, got promising guy. Okay, maybe a future Louis Aparicio and Ozzie Guillen. That was a controversy. I mean, obviously Ozzie made it pay off right away by winning Rookie of the Year, and I guess probably even being colorful as he was still grasping the language. But you want to talk about a controversial trade. Holy cow. I guess there had been a little bit of rumor and talk about some of Hoyt's off-field problems, and he certainly did not look like a professional athlete, but he produced results, and they shipped him off to San Diego for this guy who weighed 110 with a bushy mustache and a motor mouth. And that's all we have to say on that. That's Lamar Hoyt. Rest in peace, Lamar. Key part of winning ugly. It was good the White Sox continue to reach out to him. I do believe he made Sox Fest appearances. I do believe he did some promotional stuff with the team as well. So I'm glad he sort of came back and maybe got back a little bit into baseball after really leaving in some disgrace. The San Diego ate, I think, $3 million of his contract after he had been actually arrested and I think jailed for a short time for some of his drug possession. And that, that's a lot for the White Sox today. So back in the mid 80s for San Diego to do that, they really wanted to get rid of him. The White Sox gave him a chance to make a comeback, and he was still having his off-field problems, and he could never really get back to it. We do have a little bit of bonus time. Is there something we have not addressed that we need to on perhaps at least our last podcast before the veterans ballot is announced? If not, the next huge moves, Chris Bryant, Michael Conforto, just the rest. The White Sox just take the rest, whatever is left on the table, and just bring them to Chicago. Other things we missed?
I would just like to say that the domestic violence policy with this organization is a joke. And if you're going to give someone a paid 3-week vacation, then honestly, just go, I'm going to swear, Brett, don't get too much. Just go fuck yourself, because you can't just let men continue to get away with this just because they are famous and athletic and they bring in fans and they sell jerseys. No, what they do time after time, what they've done with Trevor Bauer, what they have just recently done with Marcell Ozuna, it's a joke. And I'm really angry. That's what I'm going to say about it right now, because I can get very heated and I don't want to take up 20 minutes of your time. Anyway, it's a joke. Do better, MLB.
Yeah, simply keeping Bauer off the field really isn't enough. I mean, it's better than having him on the field, but it's really not enough. And unfortunately, we are probably going to be devoting podcast time to this very topic, and probably devoting an entire podcast as we have. And it's sad that we can't shake this, but we probably will be doing so.
I mean, spinning off of that, tying in right away is somehow Omar Vasquel is still on the ballot for the Hall of Fame and getting votes.
Tons of votes.
It's just the whole thing is gross. It's like Pete Rose is on ours. I voted for him because that Pete Rose, 6 months after he dies is going to magically be absolved of all sins and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Well, then he should just be in it. I don't understand. Just put him in it and tell his story about why he was not in it for so long and be done with it. I don't understand.
Kurt Schilling has said he doesn't want to be on the ballot and is, I don't know how, and on the dirtbaggery scale, I might argue more of a dirtbag than Omar, but that's a truly, I don't know if it's a toss up, but, and he's gotten, I've seen at least one vote. He's on the board.
I'm going to use my allotted extra time here to say, can we just give Joe Cowley the Jay Mariotti treatment at some point and just get him the hell out of here? I swear to God, that dude is like a freaking, high school edgelord 4chan poster trying to, send in his ballot to piss off the libs or something like that. I mean, he really checked off all the boxes. He said, who on this ballot has committed some sort of violent act or like supported an insurrection? Who has done that? And I'm going to vote for them. And then be like, I thought about Mark Burley, but not enough QAnon rants on Twitter, I guess. So, that's if we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame.
And they gave him back his Twitter. That's not
Hashtag
gonna blow up.
courage.
I hadn't even seen that. Oh, good. I was on the beat with
It's brutal. It's brutal.
I was on the beat with Joe Colley. We had some heated moments. I always thought that we could do a talk show, and it would, every one of them, as the credits began to roll, would end with us launching at each other over the table we were talking at, starting to fight as the credits roll. But it didn't ever happen. It would have been fun. Good ballot, Joe. Way to go. Gee, I hope he gets a vote for the Basketball Hall of Fame one day too.
Yeah, that's like, might as well give Nightingale a NBA Hall of Fame vote. Like, why not?
It would be super cool if they gave women more votes. Because then you wouldn't have an Omar or a Kurt or any other freaking abuser in your Hall of Fame. Because once again, they have that clause, that character clause.
Oh, the time's coming. Things are changing. Be patient, Chrystal. I mean,
we got the Perez
but...
family. The Perez family, one of them is a Hall of Famer, and neither of them can get a vote. Like, constantly going for Minnie Miñoso, but like, no, we can't give them a vote. Like,
yeah, no
things
kidding.
are never going to change. I have no faith.
All right. Well, on that note, happy December. We are here to celebrate all the White Sox signings and lament all the non-signings and really cross our fingers for at least one good Hall of Fame result, because frankly, the regular ballot, it's very problematic. It's filled with potholes. So let's just forget about that one. Let's put all of our good vibes toward getting Minnie, getting Dick Allen, heck, getting Kitty Cott in the Hall of Fame. For God's sake, let's get somebody in the Ken Boyer. He played for the Sox for a little bit. Come on. Okay. Well, thanks, Adrian, Chrystal, Zach, Super Joseph. This ends podcast number 76. We'll be back at the very latest after the veterans announcement on Sunday. And until then, we'll see you.